Rank Mogul Show. Let's get it. Today, we're cracking open the vault on the Diddy and Cassie saga, but from a voice many have ignored in the storm of headlines. Kalenna Harper, former member of Diddy-Dirty Money, just did an explosive interview with Breakbeat Media. And what she said? It's shifting the narrative in real time. Let's talk Cassie. According to Kalenna, Cassie was not some passive, helpless figure caught in the riptide of fame and power. Nope. Kalenna describes her as naive, yes, but also as someone who liked getting high, who liked partying, and was down to give lap dances at private events. Here's the direct quote: "Love her to death. Naive. Liked getting high. She likes partying. I saw Cassie grow up from a little girl that was willing to, give everybody mother F king, lap dances, basically. Get drunk and just have a good, model time." That's a heavy statement, folks. And it challenges the carefully curated image of Cassie that we've seen in court filings and social media. So let's ask the hard question: was Cassie really a victim caught in a trap? Or was she a willing participant in the highs and lows of celebrity life? Look, this isn't about victim blaming. This is about getting to the truth. Because if we're being honest, the story being painted by Cassie's lawsuit feels one-dimensional. Like she had no power, no agency. But Kalenna's perspective suggests otherwise. Cassie was not just in the room, she was the vibe curator. She was the party. Now let's zoom out. Cassie sued Diddy for abuse and released footage that rocked the internet. We saw Diddy act violently in that hotel surveillance video. But remember, this lawsuit came years after their relationship ended. And what's interesting is that Kalenna, who was around both of them during that time, says Cassie was down for the scene. Not someone trying to escape it. This part is key. Kalenna said Cassie was like a little sister to her, and she clearly has love for her. But even she couldn't deny what she witnessed: a young woman who enjoyed the attention, the partying, the chaos. Now let's pair that with what we know about the Molotov cocktail attack on Kid Cudi's Porsche. DNA found at the scene was female. Not Diddy's. And who had Kid Cudi's address? Cassie. Who had a burner phone just to talk to him? Cassie. Put two and two together, and you gotta ask, was Cassie the real mastermind? Could she have been setting this up for years? Because here's what this looks like to some: a girl who enjoyed the spotlight and the access. Who got close to a man with power. Who partied, played, and gave lap dances in VIP rooms. But then years later wants to rewrite the story from glamour to victimhood. That doesn't mean abuse didn't happen. It means we need to look at everything. All the angles. And in this era of quick outrage and social media courtrooms, it's crucial to listen to voices like Kalenna's. People who were there. So what's the takeaway? Cassie may have been young, yes. But naive doesn't mean powerless. Loving to party doesn't mean you asked for pain. But it does mean your story needs to be balanced with the full picture. On the Rank Mogul Show, we're not in the business of cancel culture. We're in the business of context. And right now, context is everything. You just heard part 1 of our deep dive into the shifting narratives around Cassie, Diddy, and the truth hiding in the shadows. Part 2? We go into the testimony of Kid Cudi and the cross-examination that cracked it wide open. This is Rank Mogul. And we tell it how it really is. Stay locked in. Welcome back to the Rank Mogul Show, the most controversial place on the internet where we break it down, call it out, and keep it all the way mogul. If you're just tuning in, you're late. We're diving deep into the explosive saga unraveling around Diddy, Cassie, and now Kid Cudi, Dawn Richard, and Kalenna Harper are all in the mix. Let's get into segment 2, Truth or Trap? Now if you thought Cassie's testimony painted the whole picture, buckle up because we're flipping this narrative on its head. Let's talk about Kid Cudi. Yes, Mr. Day and Night himself recently took the stand and testified that Diddy broke into his home in December 2011 after learning Cudi was seeing Cassie. Wild, right? He claimed he found his dog locked in the bedroom and felt violated. He said he wanted to fight Diddy. Then, just a month later, boom. His Porsche goes up in flames in his driveway. A Molotov cocktail confirmed by photos. Cassie had previously told the feds Diddy threatened to blow up Cudi's car. Sounds open and shut, right? Wrong. Because here comes the cross-examination and Kid Cudi's credibility took a hit. That Molotov cocktail? Turns out, forensic evidence shows DNA on the weapon belongs to a woman. Not Diddy. Not one of Diddy's goons. A woman. And guess who had Cudi's address? Cassie. Guess who had a secret burner phone just to keep in contact with Kid Cudi? Cassie. Now guess who testified Diddy was on the way to Cudi's house when the car explosion happened? That's right, Cassie again. This raises one major question: was Cassie playing puppet master this whole time? Was Diddy being set up while Cassie staged the chaos, knowing she could use it to build a future legal case? Because let's be honest, the optics on this are now blurry. Real blurry. But it doesn't stop there. According to Kid Cudi's own words under oath, when he finally met with Diddy to confront him about the explosion, Diddy denied it. Cudi testified that Diddy was standing at a window like a Marvel supervillain. His words, "Not mine, but the meeting was calm." They spoke. And when they ran into each other in 2015 at a club, Diddy apologized. Cudi said he found peace with it. Found peace. So why reopen old wounds if you already accepted the apology and moved on? Cudi also admitted that while Cassie told him Diddy was physically abusive, she never once mentioned sexual abuse. That changes the weight of his testimony. And when Cudi found out Cassie went back to Diddy after everything he said, he felt played. So now we have a puzzle with missing pieces, folks. And speaking of missing pieces, let's turn our attention to Dawn Richard, former Danity Kane member and 1/3 of Dirty Money. She filed her own lawsuit against Diddy recently. Allegations? Abuse. Toxic work environment. But here comes Kalenna Harper, the other third of Dirty Money, with a different tune. In her recent interview with Breakbeat Media, Kalenna said she never saw Diddy act inappropriately toward anyone. Not once. And she called Dawn, quote, a weird bee and questioned her credibility. Kalenna said the Diddy she knew was a leader. Someone she admired. She flat out said Dawn's claims didn't align with her reality. And Kalenna didn't stop there. She also called Cassie naive, loved to get high, and claimed she was known for handing out lap dances and partying hard. That's a far cry from the victim image being portrayed in the media. Let's be clear, we're not saying the abuse didn't happen. We're saying that when testimonies contradict each other and evidence starts pointing in other directions, the court of public opinion needs to pause. Because right now, this case is looking more like a reality show plot than a clear path to justice. And Diddy? His legal team responded to Dawn Richard's claims, calling them a payday play, conveniently timed around her album release and press run. Coincidence? You tell me. Cudi testifies about break-in and explosion. DNA shows a woman set the fire. Cassie at Cudi's address and burner phone. Diddy apologized. Cudi said he found peace. Cassie didn't tell Cudi about sexual abuse. Kalenna says Dawn's lying. Cassie was wild. So here's the question, Rank Mogul fam. Is Diddy a criminal mastermind, or is he the fall guy in a masterclass of manipulation? Are we witnessing justice or just a really well-produced takedown? This one right here? This might ruffle some feathers. We're talking about a former bad boy artist pulling back the velvet rope on Diddy, Cassie, and the whole Diddy-Dirty Money era. Let's get into it. Recently, Kalenna Harper, 1/3 of Diddy-Dirty Money, alongside Sean Diddy Combs and Dawn Richard, sat down for an explosive interview with Breakbeat Media. And when I say explosive, I mean fireworks, gasoline, and a lit match. Kalenna starts by saying she always admired Diddy. Let's be clear, this ain't no "I hated my boss" type interview. She said, and I quote, Diddy is someone she always wanted to be like. That tells us right off the bat, she didn't come in swinging. She came in real. This is someone who had a front row seat in the bad boy empire, and her commentary doesn't come with bitterness. It comes with experience. Kalenna on Cassie. Now, here's where things get spicy. When the subject turns to Cassie, who, as y'all know, recently sued Diddy for sexual assault and was seen in that disturbing hotel video, Kalenna offers a different lens. She describes Cassie as someone who was naive and loved to party. Says she liked getting high, and at label functions, she'd be out here giving lap dances like it was a routine. Kalenna literally said, and I'm paraphrasing here, I saw Cassie grow from a little girl who gave lap dances, got drunk, and loved to party. That's a bold statement. Especially now, with the wave of sympathy and support Cassie's been getting publicly. Kalenna's take paints a picture not of a victim, but someone who is very much participating in the party lifestyle. Now listen, that doesn't mean Cassie wasn't a victim. But Kalenna's words challenge the narrative that Cassie was just a passive player in this toxic environment. Kalenna knew her. Saw her up close. And in her words? Cassie was young, wild, and free. There's a complexity here. And that's the part mainstream media tends to ignore. Kalenna on Dawn Richard. Then came the shade. Nah, not shade, let's call it what it is, direct sunlight toward Dawn Richard. Kalenna made it very clear, she doesn't mess with Dawn. Called her a weird BH, on camera. Said she didn't see any of the behavior Dawn accused Diddy of in her own lawsuit. Let that breathe. Kalenna basically said, look, I was there too. I ain't see any of that. She even challenged other men from that era to step up and speak out if they saw something, because from her perspective, Dawn was the one acting off. Not Diddy. This ain't just gossip. It's a critical counterpoint. Because if you got one member of the group filing a lawsuit and another member who was in the exact same rooms, studios, tours saying, "Nah, I didn't see none of that," then the credibility of certain claims starts to waver. And that's why this interview is such an important piece in the puzzle. Diddy's legal team claps back. Now, let's remember, Diddy's legal team already came out strong after Dawn's lawsuit. They said she was rewriting history for a payday. And if we're honest, these lawsuits have dropped right around people's album releases and press tours. Coincidence? Maybe. But when multiple things line up like that, the moguls in the game start paying attention. Diddy's team called Dawn's claims manufactured. They said she was trying to rewrite history, and Kalenna just added fuel to that fire by saying flat out she didn't witness anything. And that Cassie? She had her own demons. Drugs, parties, wild behavior. These aren't my words. These are from someone who shared the stage, the tour bus, and the studio. Final thoughts. Now let's be real, does this clear Diddy? Nah. Not entirely. But what it does do is create reasonable doubt. Not every story is as clean-cut as people make it. Kalenna's account suggests Cassie might have not just been caught in the chaos but at times, might have been the one creating it. And Dawn? She might have her own motives. We've got lawsuits, contradictions, apologies, and now? Testimonies from people who lived it. We're not here to play judge and jury. But we are here to show you the other side, the side mainstream media is too scared to air. Kalenna Harper just flipped the narrative on its head. Now it's up to y'all to decide where the truth really lies.